Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to the program. Joining me now, former State Senator Joyce Elliott. She's with Get Loud Arkansas. Not a candidate, but he's certainly helped elect a few Republicans in his day and age. Bill Vickery with Capital Advisors Group. Thanks for being here. All right, hey, Tuesday, Election Day in Arkansas. Might not be the most in thrilling election cycle that we've had, but it is an election day. It's still the Super Bowl for us, so sometimes the Super Bowls are not as exciting.
True. Yes.
Big race to watch, I think first off, is the Supreme Court Chief Justice race. We've got 3 sitting Supreme Court justices running for that chief post, and then one outsider, Jay Martin, who was a former state representative. Anyhow, Joyce, I'll begin with you. What's your expectation in the Supreme Court Chief Justice race?
First, I assume there will be a runoff. Whoever knew the Supreme Court justice could be such a sexy thing, but apparently it is. I expect there to be a runoff, but what if, and I think the vote is going to be probably pretty low there, just because people are more focused, it seems, this time around on initiatives, ballot issues.
Which will all be general elections.
That's right.
The energy is all
The energy is all there. And so since they're paying so much attention to that, they seem to especially not be paying a lot of attention to those judges' races. And I think it's just going to be all in the details of whose name is out there the most, and one certain person that I will not name that is known probably very well, probably a reason that person might not get very many votes, and another one that I know who's well known who probably will.
Wow.
So we can figure out that
There's a lot masked in all that.
Yes.
I'm for that person.
Your take, Bill.
Yes.
Well, first of all, judicial races mystify and frighten me, so I have no idea. The rules are very different. We need to do something about how we either elect or appoint the judiciary in Arkansas. There need to be real campaigns where they can really talk about things, or we just need to appoint all the justices through some mechanism. But I err towards the side of electing them, but if we're going to have a real judicial campaign, then let them really campaign, as opposed to some of these goofy judicial rules. Second thing is, look at the number of women candidates in the Arkansas judiciary, the women office holders in the Arkansas, the number of women on the Arkansas Supreme Court. I'd like to know, somebody should look into this. I think we may have a greater percentage than any other state in the country, and I think that says something about the Arkansas voter. And then,
well, first of all, more women vote than men.
Well,
so we know that.
I mean, but I think that's a good thing. Look, end of the day, I don't know. I really don't know. I would be, it'd be foolish for me to even hazard a guess. I do agree with Joyce that there will be a runoff, most likely, and that we'll see this play out in the fall, which is another weird thing.
Yes.
You have the election now, and then the runoff is in the.
Yes.
At what point, we just need to.
Well, we
bring
changed
these
all that
races.
several years ago when we changed the Constitution, and what you're talking about doing in terms of changing the way we select these judges would require constitutional change too. And I just don't know if the appetite is there.
Well, let's just
and I don't know if a voter is going to give up their right to pick a justice.
I think the appetite might not be there, because I think not because people can't learn and get it, but it's just such a non-thing to so many people. Getting them to get interested in it, I think, would be difficult. However, I do think we need another way of doing it. I like the mixture of some being elected and some being appointed. I think that might be something people might hang on to, because they will still have some power in who's there.
I've made an argument for a while that we ought to take the House and Senate Judiciary Committees and let them vet these candidates for some of the higher profile appellate judges, at least, and have some hearings. You'd at least generate some interest in.
Have you watched Judiciary Committee meetings?
But I'm just saying, you could talk about precedent.
Yes.
You could talk about your judicial philosophy. I think you would get a lot more
I think that would
out
be
of
good.
them.
To talk about it.
But if we're going to have an election, either let them campaign or don't. This sort of archaic code of ethics inside judicial races, where you can't know who gives you money, but yet you call people and ask them. It just is such. The hypocrisy is so significant.
They used to be identified by Republicans and Democrats.
That's right. But if we were to do that, if we were to just start electing them and letting them talk about everything, we already have an issue with people believing in our, losing some of the faith they used to have in our justice system. I think if our judges were foretelling everything and all their positions, and I'm standing before them, I mean, that could be problematic, I think, don't you think?
I'd never like to stand before a judge. I'll just put it out there.
Well, you shouldn't have that much practice.
Never stand before a judge again.
Again.
Bill. Again.
I know.
Okay. right, let's move on. Another big race that'll be out there. This is more in the Northwest Arkansas corridor, 3rd Congressional District. Incumbent Congressman Steve Womack running against State Senator Clint Penzo in the Republican primary. I sense that Steve Womack will be okay in that primary, but still the fact that a sitting state senator challenging him in the primary indicates there is some right flank disagreement there. Yeah. Clint Penzo's back in the state Senate whether he wins or loses, so all of that is
smart political move by him.
Yeah,
I mean, because you get a free shot to run for Congress. Look, I think it's indicative of the debate that's going on inside the Republican Party nationally now, where you see a lot of factions engaging. It's what happens inside political parties. I like the fact that it's happening inside the Republican Party. I thought we had about a 12, 16-year malaise where we all just sort of kind of lumped onto one side. I like the good back and forth. I like to see good populist Republicans along with all the rest of the old line conservatives. I like it all. It's a good thing.
They're acting like Democrats used to act, Joyce.
I know. And I was going to say, I agree with that too, because I think it's a really good thing when we have, I don't know that I particularly wanted an opponent, but I had an opponent. And that was not bothersome to me. It really was a good thing. And I had to say to people who were working with me and for me, don't criticize that person for running. It is not my seat. I just have the privilege of sitting in it for a bit. But because you can tell right now where there are so few contests in the primary elections, and that has definitely led to some of the disinterest in what's going on. I looked at my sample ballot, and the list just seems to get longer every year where it says unopposed. And I don't think that's good for our democracy. The give and take is a good thing, and I'm glad to see that this is happening in the 3rd District.
Yeah. Joyce wants more people running against more people there. So the next time Joyce gets on the ballot, you make sure you find her an opponent there. All right. All right. The biggie, I think nationally, and it will happen here in Arkansas on Super Tuesday, is the Republican and Democratic presidential primaries. I don't think there's any secret Donald Trump will win the Republican primary. Joe Biden will win the Democratic primary, and that's where we're heading. This is probably going to be Tuesday is going to set up. Without any question, this is what the fall has in store for us. What do you think happens on Tuesday in terms of, does it change the political conversation from where we're at now?
No, it just makes it more hyper-focused. I think that Nikki Haley has to get out then after this because she's becoming a bit of a sideshow and she's ruining any kind of future she could have had for herself. Okay, that's over. So we'll have what will be, in effect, the de facto longest presidential campaign in American history.
In so many ways, Bill. In so many ways.
We'll start from March. We'll start from early March, and we'll end up in early November.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a long, hard slog that I think that will be. I don't want to say unprecedented because people throw these terms out all the time. There have been brutal, mean, rough and tumble presidential campaigns.
And this will be
history.
one.
And this will very much be one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joyce.
Yeah, it will be, but I really think the legislature needs to go back and revisit what I thought was an awful idea to start with, that we would be a part of Super Tuesday. We had this romantic notion, some people did, that this was just going to put the spotlight on us and we were going to be noticed nationally. I kept saying, still, we have 6 electoral votes. That's not going to happen. And so this is one thing that's led to this long time of just waiting to get somewhere where we're really engaged. But what it has also done is created this early start of the races in November. And I think probably incumbents like that, I don't think that's a good thing because I think it's such a huge disadvantage to other people revving up and having time to get ready to start a race in November when the incumbents are just kind of, depends on who they are and how strong they are. You can just kind of lay back and go, well, it's going to be over with in March. Yeah. I don't have long to go.
These big sort of Super Tuesday, big campaign days, multi-state primary days, they worked when there were 4 or 5 candidates left on the ballot and you could see them moving around the country. What we have now, they're almost obsolete because everything narrows down after the 3 big states.
A little trivia here. We've got about 30 seconds left before a commercial break. Arkansas used to do its primaries in the summertime.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And so it'd be like
summer,
a 4-month, campaign, basically. So
August,
that changed.
That's brutal.
It was rough.
I just remember having a runoff in one of the hottest years of the year in June. It was 20. Well, when I was
I'm talking
running
about
the
going
first
back
time.
to the 70s.
I know.
It used to
but
be.
I think I experienced it though later, in 2000. I
Global
prepare.
warming,
Yeah.
Joyce, global warming. All right, we're going to quick commercial break. And
Let's
we're going
talk
to come
about
back
that.
with more with Joyce Elliott and Bill Vickery. Stay tuned.
You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to the program. I am joined by Joyce Elliott and Bill Vickery. We're talking a little bit of politics here. Let's pick back up with what we were talking about in the presidential race. Joe Biden, Donald Trump, they're likely going to be our general election presidential candidates here. Are we already seeing the messaging that we are going to see for November right now? It seems to be focused on illegal immigration. It seems to be focused on the Democratic side about bipartisanship in solving immigration. But those seem to be, that's the hot topic today. Is that going to be the hot topic come November, Bill?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Immigration, economy, inflation, yes or no, and foreign policy. You could literally just almost go back to the early 1980s in the Reagan playbook. I mean, that's what this is about. America's prestige abroad has been destroyed. We do have an inflationary economy. We just don't want to say it just yet because we think that's a bad thing politically. And we've got a border that's totally obliterated and being flooded every day by folks who I do think it is a real human crisis what's happening on the border. And it should have been dealt with a long time ago, but because it's a political hot potato, that's why we haven't done it.
I think Joyce may have a contrary opinion to the economy and our standing in the world and even immigration.
Yeah, actually, let's go with the foreign policy part.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the world still depends on America, depends on the United States, really to be the bulwark against all that is wrong, you know, on the globe. And I don't think we have lost it. I think we have somehow kneecapped ourselves from being even a brighter light, you know, on the global stage, because we have so many people now who are isolationists in Congress. The light could shine a lot brighter if we would work together, and if we were living up to what others believe us to be, even more than we seem to this time.
Well, we had a different foreign policy in the Trump years than we did now, too. I'm not so
yes.
sure that we had the stature that you're bragging that we had in the world. There was a lot of people that were concerned about
That's right.
America's role in the world.
I mean, yeah, that's because they had self-interest in seeing America pay the bills for everybody. I mean, the bottom line here becomes this. Europe has abandoned the Ukraine. We now fund the proxy war in Ukraine that we're fighting. And by the way, we need to be there, but we have no allies helping us. I mean, it's the realpolitik of throughout Western Europe. You know, they just do whatever's best for them in the moment. That's a reality. On the Arabian Peninsula, I mean, you had a united front against the Persians, against Iran and Tehran. That's now been splintered not because of the war that's going on in Gaza, but because of the way the United States has handled it. We've pitted the Saudis against the Israelis, which they were literally on the verge of a treaty between the two of them. So I just think this is what happens when you have a stroke victim as President of the United States of America. And I mean that 100%. You've got to have a strong leader at the top. That's why you say a fractured government with one agency doing one thing, a foreign policy doing one thing, a Department of Defense doing another thing. That's what's wrong.
Had a stroke.
Well, I guess we're seeing different news because the folks who are holding it up now are the Europeans more than anything else who are helping Ukraine. And that is particularly France and and Germany is having some issues with it. But when we get to France and some of the other countries that are larger in Europe, they're stepping up now and trying to get us to do the same thing. So a lot of this, people talk about paying their dues, but a lot of what's expected in NATO is for you to contribute according to the size of your economy. And the United States has certainly done that, but not quite to the point that we have lost some of the stature we did have and should have, because we are not living up to what we really could be doing. And becoming isolationist, how is that even possible to entertain such a thing in a world when Ukraine is literally the front door to our democracy?
30-second rebuttal.
Don't disagree, but in military action, you start with the end in mind at the beginning. We didn't do that here because we are fighting a, quote, proxy war. I do worry about the United States always being engaged in these things. I do think there is significant foreign policy interest in us aiding the Ukrainians. I think it's a good thing to do. We pay 70% of the tab. That's all I'm saying. The world gets a free ride on our tail.
Bill mentioned immigration. How did the Democrats combat the immigration message that is out there in full force right now, particularly through the right-wing media apparatus?
I think by just totally embracing this is a problem, it is a huge problem, and remind people every day that the Democrats and Republicans together had come up, and they've come up with a very good plan, some things that the Republicans, many of the things the Republicans have been wanting, and it is the House Republicans who have deep sixed the whole package. They just would not accept yes for an answer. And it continues to be a problem only because Trump wanted it to be a problem. And everything Trump tells the Republicans to do in the Congress, that's what they do.
See, Bill?
And
She
because
solved that
of
problem
that,
for you guys, so.
And because
It's
of
easy.
that, it's still a big problem because you need both
Why do you
sides.
think the Republicans pulled out
The
of that?
White House woke up and realized that immigration is a huge issue. So for political purposes and optics, they start to engage on the issue of immigration. The reality is there's 5 executive orders that the president could sign today that could put a stop to what's going on the border, on the
It
southern
wouldn't
border.
stop everything,
Well,
or else,
but
or the
reality-
Republicans wouldn't have pushed the plan, and the Democrats and
the
Republicans
remaining
would have pushed
Mexico
the plan.
But
policy
this
that
is
was
the-
so
this is
effective.
the
That's why you
problem.
didn't have this. You made. Go ahead.
We
Joyce, I'm sorry.
criticized the president when he does. You did too many executive orders. That's wrong. What, we don't need to keep doing executive orders.
Well, he
need-
undid the good ones. Yeah, I'll admit that.
Yeah, but we need a real answer to it that is going to be in the law and ongoing. And we could do that. There's nothing to keep us from doing it.
I don't disagree,
Yeah.
but it's disingenuous for the White House to say, we throw our hands up, we tried, when in reality they have all the tools in front of them.
Let's don't talk about disingenuity with Republicans or Democrats in this day and age. I see it on both sides of the aisle every day at the national level. Let's turn our attention back to Arkansas and talk about what some messaging and issues that may drive voters to the polls this fall. I want to begin with some of the ballot issues that are out there. The Freedom of Information Act is one of them. This Government Transparency and Disclosure Amendment and Initiated Act. Does this increase turnout for any particular party? What is y'all's take?
The parties, I'm happy to say, are so in sync on this issue. I think it will increase turnout for both, perhaps, but probably Democrats more because Republicans already have a larger turnout. I think it will definitely increase more for the Democrats because we have a committee that's composed of people who almost never will have a cup of coffee together sometimes that's working on this issue. But that is really a microcosm for what we see out there in the state. It is bringing people together in a way I'm proud of.
Yeah.
But
what do you think about that, her point of view, and also who opposes this?
One, I think that's a very good point. That you got a top end number on the Republican side from a turnout standpoint. You're going to hit it. It is what it is. It's kind of, and I do see the Democrats have a lot of room to grow over here, and I do know what they're doing, and I think it's smart. Tactically, it's very smart. I don't know that these ballot initiatives drive a lot of voter turnout relative to people. I think it's pretty deep in the weeds. What I find interesting is this is how we've now started to really clash from a legislative standpoint is through this ballot initiative process. And so that's dynamic.
We got about 2 minutes left here,
okay,
and I want to get to one other topic
okay,
here. and that
30
is,
seconds then.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the first day of Women's History Month. And if we don't think the abortion issue is going to bring out
well,
a lot
that's
of
what I was
people.
about to bring up.
Oh, okay,
yes,
all right.
yes. So,
'Cause I'm just-
how does the abortion amendment drive voter turnout in both of your estimations?
It will drive a lot of young people out who've not been out before, especially young women. But as I think I mentioned this here before, the number of grandparents, the grandmothers and grandparents and grandfathers, but also fathers, families, people care about this. So I think we just have a coalition of people. It's a loose coalition, but it's tight in what they're going to do.
Yeah.
A coalition of people who it's just gone too far. Democrats understand women need to have their own bodily autonomy. Republicans seem not to, and women are tired of being owned, and every woman in this state should stand up along with their family and declare, I will not be owned. You don't own my body. It is mine. And I am saying to women and everybody else, you need to get out there and get it
Careful how
done.
you respond to this. You got 30 seconds.
Very quickly then, I think there will be a well-coordinated response and campaign that they'll pull out some of the more heinous aspects of the
I agree with
amendment.
you on that.
Yes.
And that's going to highlight it and define the issue, and I think that's what's going to be the big thing in the fall.
All right.
You're mistaken.
Hey, well, listen.
I only said it because I said this when I
Let's
was here
bet lunch
before.
on it. All right.
Yeah.
Nobody goes broke.
You say it's going to
Yeah.
pass. You say it's going to fail.
Yes.
All right.
So then we will. Yeah.
We're
we'll
betting
have-
lunch
we'll-
on
we'll
that.
have
All
lunch.
right. Joyce Elliott and Bill Vickery.
Somewhere nice, by the way.
Thank you.
No kidding.
Appreciate you both being here. All right. We're back with more right after this.